to speak to you with a sense of urgency that I don't often bring to a platform. What I'm about to share is not a casual encouragement, it's not a sweet devotional, and it's not simply a good word for your morning coffee. This is a warning, a divine alert. And I believe with all my heart that there are people in this room and listening to me right now who are standing at the edge of the greatest transition in their lives, a God-ordained shift in destiny. And this is the last warning before it happens. You see, when God is about to change your season, He does not do it without sending a word. He never shifts you into destiny without preparation, and He never promotes you without first testing your capacity to handle the next level. I want to say something to you that will sound heavy. Before God shifts your destiny, He will disrupt your comfort. And the disruption you are feeling right now is proof that you are closer to your turning point than you realize. Some of you have been praying for breakthrough, praying for doors to open, praying for your calling to be revealed, but you didn't expect that the answer to your prayer would first come as discomfort, as shaking, as a season where things you thought were secure start falling apart. That's because God is not interested in moving you into a new season with an old mindset. You can't carry Egypt into the promised land. You can't carry Lot into your future like Abraham tried to do. You can't bring the weight of yesterday into the birthing room of tomorrow. This is why I call it the last warning. God will always give you opportunities to obey before the shift. But if you ignore His instructions, the shift will still come, only without your participation. You see, destiny is God's decision, but participation is your choice. I am reminded of the children of Israel standing at the border of the land God promised them. They were right there. They could see it, taste it, and feel it. And yet, an entire generation missed it. Why? Because they treated God's warning as optional. They thought there would always be more time to get it together. They thought the door would always remain open. But my friend, there comes a point where the season changes. And what was once accessible becomes closed. Some of you are in that place right now. The door is open, but it is not going to stay open forever. The Spirit of God is urging you to forgive that person, to cut off that toxic relationship, to step out in faith on that business idea, to move away from that place He told you to leave, to repent of that hidden sin, to confront the bitterness in your heart, to get your house in order, because the shift is coming. When God is about to shift your destiny, He will first shake your identity. He will strip away everything you thought you were, so you can finally become who you were born to be. Gideon thought he was the weakest man from the weakest tribe, until God addressed him as a mighty warrior. David thought he was just a shepherd boy until the oil touched his head. Esther thought she was just a young orphan girl until the crown was placed upon her. And some of you have been defining yourselves by your past, by your mistakes, by your upbringing, by your failures. God is saying, I am about to redefine you. But hear me carefully. You cannot be redefined if you are holding on to your old definition. That's why God will send warning signs before He shifts your destiny. He will disturb the nest, like an eagle stirs the feathers to make the eaglets uncomfortable. That's His way of saying, you can't stay here anymore. There are people right now under the sound of my voice who are ignoring divine agitation. You are treating God's warnings like background noise. You are hearing the Spirit whisper, let that go, but you keep holding on. You are hearing Him say, prepare yourself, but you keep procrastinating. You are hearing Him say, separate yourself from them, but you keep making excuses. And here's the truth. The longer you delay, the harder it will be when the shift comes suddenly. The last warning is never for information. It's for action. It means the time for debating is over. It means the grace period for delay is ending. It means you have to align yourself immediately. I want to tell you a story I once heard about a great ship. The captain had received weather alerts that a storm was approaching, but he ignored them because the sea still looked calm. By the time the waves began to rise, it was too late to turn the ship around. The crew was unprepared and the ship suffered loss that could have been avoided. That is exactly how many believers treat the voice of God. We wait until the storm is visible, until the pain is unavoidable, until the door is shut, before we take seriously what he said in the quiet moments. Some of you, God has been sending little signs, subtle nudges, small disruptions, not to destroy you, but to prepare you. That conflict at your workplace might be God's way of forcing you out so you can launch the ministry he's been whispering about. That disappointment in a relationship might be his way of protecting you from a lifetime of regret. That unease you feel when you try to settle where you are might be the Spirit telling you this season is closing. You must understand, God does not warn because he is unsure. He warns because he is merciful. He gives you space to respond so that when the shift comes, you are ready to move with it instead of being left behind. I sense so strongly that some of you are in the exact same position as the virgins in Jesus' parable. Some are wise and preparing their oil. Others are foolish and assuming they can buy oil at the last minute. My friend, there is no last-minute oil for destiny. If you are not preparing now, you will be scrambling later, and scrambling will not open the door once it's shut. This is the season to take inventory of your obedience, not your intentions, your obedience. Because delayed obedience is disobedience in the eyes of God. He is calling you to adjust, to let go, to align, to purify, to focus, to step out. And I must tell you this, the shift that is coming will not wait for you to be comfortable. It will come on God's calendar, not yours. When the Israelites were told to pack up and leave Egypt, they had to do it in haste, so quickly that their bread had no time to rise. That's how fast the shift can come. One day, Joseph was in prison. The next day, he was standing in front of Pharaoh. One night, Peter was chained between two guards. The next morning, he was walking out free by angelic intervention. One morning, Esther was fasting in her room. That evening, she was standing before the king, making history. And some of you will wake up one morning in the same old routine, and by the end of that day, you will be in a completely different season of life. But hear me, you will only step into it if you have heeded the last warning. There is something about a warning from God that you must understand. It is not given for your curiosity. It is given for your correction. God never warns to entertain. He warns to realign. In fact, if you look throughout the scriptures, every time God was about to shift someone's destiny, he sent a warning first. Noah was warned about the flood before the first raindrop ever touched the ground. Abraham was warned to leave his father's house before God revealed the land he had for him. Moses was warned at the burning bush before he faced Pharaoh. The disciples were warned about persecution before they went out to change the world. And even Jesus warned Peter before the rooster crowed, so Peter could be restored afterward. Well, the pattern is clear. Warnings are the mercy of God before the movement of God. They are heaven's way of saying, I am about to do something that will change everything. But I will not let you say, I did not prepare you. Now here's the sobering truth, and I want you to lean in for this. Not everyone listens to the last warning. The ark was being built for years, yet people mocked Noah until the rain started falling. Lot was told to leave Sodom immediately, yet his sons-in-law thought he was joking. The Pharisees heard Jesus speak the truth of the kingdom, yet they clung to their religion and missed the visitation of God in their generation. There will always be two kinds of people when a last warning is given: those who move and those who mock. And your destiny will be determined by which group you choose to be in. I want to speak to someone who has been delaying because you are waiting for the perfect conditions. My friend, there will never be a perfect time to obey God. The perfect time is always now. The moment you hear His voice, harden not your heart, because the longer you delay, the more attached you become to what you're supposed to leave behind. Remember Lot's wife. She was being delivered, she was on her way out, but her heart was still back there. And one look back turned her into a pillar of salt. Her destiny froze because she could not release her past. Some of you are halfway out of a toxic environment, halfway out of an old habit, halfway into your calling, but you keep glancing back at what God told you to leave. This is your last warning. Stop looking back. When God shifts your destiny, He requires your full attention. You cannot step into a new chapter while rereading the old one. That is why the Apostle Paul said, "Forgetting what is behind, I press toward what is ahead." You cannot press forward with both hands gripping yesterday. Some of you have been sensing this in your spirit for months. You feel a holy dissatisfaction, like where you are no longer fits you. You are not comfortable in the old crowd. The old habits don't feel the same. The old environment drains you instead of filling you. That is not depression, that is displacement. God is showing you that your season here is over, and He is preparing you for what's next. But here's the challenge. The place you are being called to doesn't feel familiar. It's uncomfortable. It's risky. And everything in your flesh wants to stay where it's safe. That's why the warning comes, to push you past the fear of leaving. Let me give you a kingdom principle. Every destiny shift requires a death. You cannot experience resurrection without a crucifixion. You cannot inherit the promise without burying the old self. Abraham had to die to the security of his father's house. Joseph had to die to the comfort of his coat and the familiarity of his brothers. Ruth had to die to the gods of Moab and the comfort of her homeland. And Jesus, the greatest example of all, had to die physically to bring salvation to the world. This is why many miss their destiny shift, because they want the resurrection without the burial. They want the crown without the cross. They want the promotion without the pruning. But God's kingdom doesn't work that way. Before He gives you more, He will take away what you thought you needed, just to show you that He alone is enough. That's why some relationships are ending. That's why certain doors are closing. That's why certain resources are drying up. God is making sure that when you step into the new season, you will know it was Him, not them, that brought you there. I feel this so deeply for someone right now. Your destiny shift is not coming through addition, it's coming through subtraction. God is removing so you can receive. He is emptying your hands so you can carry what's coming. He is stripping away so you can be clothed in His glory. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's painful. But don't mistake pruning for punishment. The gardener only cuts what he intends to make fruitful. If you ignore this last warning, you will not be destroyed, but you will delay. And delay is dangerous because it can cause you to miss the timing of God. Timing is everything in the kingdom. The right action at the wrong time is still the wrong action. Let me give you a practical example. If a farmer plants in the wrong season, he can work just as hard as someone planting in the right season, but the harvest will be completely different. The seed doesn't fail, the timing does. That's why Ecclesiastes says there is a time for every purpose under heaven. You must align your obedience with God's timing. And right now I believe we are in a divine window, a kairos moment, a season where the heavens are open for movement. And that's why this message is urgent. Because if you miss this window, you might have to wait for another cycle before you see this level of favor and opportunity again. Some of you are one act of obedience away from your shift. One phone call you need to make. One apology you need to give. One step of faith you need to take. One act of surrender you've been putting off. Don't let pride, fear, or comfort keep you from moving. Think of Peter in the boat. Jesus gave him a window. Step out now. If Peter had waited until the waves calmed down, the opportunity would have passed. You don't wait for the water to be still to walk on it. You step when the voice calls you, even if the storm is still raging. I believe right now heaven is issuing assignments. Some of you are being told to launch a ministry. Some are being told to start a business. Some are being told to move to a new place. Some are being told to separate from relationships that are draining your destiny. And you've been hesitating, calculating, debating. But this is your last warning before the shift. If you don't move, the shift will happen without you. And I say this with love. God's plan will not stop because you refuse to participate. He will raise up someone else to do what you were assigned to do. That's why Esther's uncle told her, if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise from another place, but you and your family will perish. The kingdom will advance with or without you. The question is, will you be part of it? This is why you must discern the difference between a distraction and a destiny moment. Distractions come to waste your time. Destiny moments come to define your time. The enemy will always send something shiny, urgent, or emotional right before your shift, hoping you will miss it. That's why you have to be spiritually alert. Now here's something you may not like to hear. The last warning is often disguised as inconvenience. It may not feel like a trumpet blast from heaven. It may feel like a closed door, a difficult conversation, an unexpected challenge, or an instruction you don't want to follow. That's because God hides the glory in obedience. He hides the promotion inside the test. He hides the breakthrough inside the act of surrender. The surrender. My prayer for you today is that you will not miss the hidden hand of God in this season. That you will recognize His voice even when it comes through disruption. That you will move quickly when He says, move, even if you can't see the full picture yet. Because here is the truth. God is about to shift some of you so radically that people who knew you last year won't recognize you next year. They will say, is this the same person? And you will have to smile and say, no, that was who I was before God shifted my destiny. When God shifts your destiny, He does not consult your comfort, He consults your calling. And calling will always demand more than comfort is willing to give. That's why the voice of God in this season may feel like it's pulling you apart, because He's not speaking to the version of you that you are now. He's speaking to the version of you that you are becoming. I believe some of you listening to me right now are standing where Joshua once stood. Moses was gone. The wilderness was behind them. The Jordan River was in front of them. And God said to Joshua, now therefore arise. That word now is important. It meant the time for mourning was over. The time for excuses was over. The time for delay was over. Joshua's entire life had been preparation for this moment. And I believe your entire life up to this point has been preparation for this moment. This is why your last season was so hard. You were not being punished. You were being prepared. Every betrayal, every disappointment, every late night of tears, every closed door, every unexpected detour, it was God shaping your character for where He is taking you. And this is why you must take this warning seriously. You are not going through all of that just to stay where you are. The kingdom of God does not invest in you for you to remain the same. When heaven makes a deposit, it expects a return. God is saying to someone right now, I've invested years of grace, protection, training, and revelation into you, and now it's time to move into the assignment I created you for. This is not just about your blessing, it's about His purpose. Understand this, destiny is never just about you. God shifts your life because there are people on the other side of your obedience. There are lives tied to your yes. There are generations that will be changed because you stepped into your assignment. That's why the enemy has been fighting you so hard. Not because of where you are, but because of where you are about to go. Some of you think the warfare is proof you're in the wrong place. No. The warfare is proof you're in the right place. The enemy does not fight what does not threaten him. The attacks you've been experiencing are prophetic evidence that you carry something valuable. Hell has read your destiny, and it knows that if you ever step into it, entire territories will be shaken. But hear me, the attack is not the sign to stop. It's the sign to prepare. This is why God is warning you now. The pressure will not stop, but your position must change. The moment you shift into destiny, the same storms that tried to drown you will become the winds that carry you. Do you remember how Paul and Silas were beaten, chained, and thrown into the inner prison? That attack was meant to silence them. But at midnight, the darkest hour, they began to sing praises to God. And suddenly there was an earthquake, and the prison doors flew open. What the enemy meant for containment became the moment of release. And not just for them. The Bible says everyone's chains fell off. That's what happens when you obey in your midnight hour. Your breakthrough becomes the breakthrough for others. I believe some of you are in a midnight moment right now. It's dark. It's painful. It's confusing. But this is not the time to quit. This is the time to praise. This is the time to obey the last warning. Because when the shift comes, it's not just going to set you free. It's going to set people connected to you free. And let me tell you something. Destiny shifts are never private. When God elevates you, it will be visible. The same people who saw you in the pit, like Joseph's brothers, will see you in the palace. The same people who saw you broken, like Naomi, will see you restored and overflowing. The same people who saw you bound, like those in Jerusalem watching Peter, will hear the testimony of your release. But here's the critical part. Elevation is dangerous if you are not prepared. That's why the warning comes first. You must deal with the pride, the compromise, the laziness, the secret sins, the unforgiveness now. Because if you don't, those things will sabotage you when you get there. Think about Saul. God shifted him from ordinary to king. But Saul never dealt with his insecurity and disobedience. As a result, he lost the throne. The warning before your shift is not just about moving you forward. It's about protecting you once you get there. This is why I'm urging you. Take radical action in this season. If God told you to fast, fast. If He told you to forgive, forgive. If He told you to sow, sow. If He told you to leave, leave. If He told you to speak, speak. This is the season to negotiate obedience. This is the season to obey without hesitation. You may not understand the full picture now, but God is never obligated to explain before He instructs. He told Abraham, "Go to a land I will show you." He didn't give the address, the itinerary, or the blueprint, because the details are unlocked by movement. Some of you are waiting for clarity, but God is waiting for your step. The next instruction will come after you obey the last one. And let me say this with prophetic weight. If you do what God is telling you in this last warning, the shift that is coming will be so sudden, so undeniable, that it will redeem years in days. You will step into rooms you didn't apply to enter. You will receive calls you didn't expect. You will see resources come from places you didn't know existed. You will watch God restore things you thought were gone forever. But if you ignore it, if you treat this moment lightly, you will still see others testify, but you will not be part of the testimony. And you will look back and say, "That was the moment I should have moved." My friend, I don't want you to live with that regret. This is why I am speaking with this urgency. God has already positioned the people, the opportunities, and the resources for your next season. The angels have already been dispatched. The doors have already been prepared. The shift is scheduled. The only thing left is your obedience. So I challenge you today, not tomorrow, not next week, today. Get in alignment. Shut down the distractions. Remove what He told you to remove. Pursue what He told you to pursue. Purify what He told you to purify. This is the last warning before the wind changes direction. And when that wind blows, may you not be caught off guard. May you not be scrambling for oil. May you not be found in a place God told you to leave. May you be standing in position, ready to move, so that when the trumpet sounds in your spirit, you can say, "Lord, I am here, I am ready, and I will go." Because the shift is coming, whether you are ready or not. The only question is, will you be part of it, or will you watch it pass you by? Lord, I hear you. I will not delay. I will not look back. I will obey now. I declare that I will step into this shift prepared, positioned, and full of faith. And nothing and no one will stop what you have already begun in my life. The wind of destiny is blowing, and I am ready to move.